Hi there everyone. Today I'm talking to Megan from the Victoria University of Wellington Law Student Society. So welcome Megan.
Thank you.
How are you going today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's not the nicest weather up here in Auckland. How about down there?
It is pretty overcast in Wellington. I'm waiting for the clouds to burst again.
Yeah, it's been on and off here, so that's all right. It's the joys of being inside. So today's just a little bit of a chat about the legal profession, the industry in general. It's really good to hear some different perspectives, and being amongst the students and involved in the Law Student Society, you definitely have some perspectives that we'd love to hear. I suppose this time last year, we were in the middle of level 4 lockdown. It's been a pretty big year in terms of disruptions to the industry and really the world in general. So any reflections you've taken away from the last year?
I think that both in the legal education sector and also in the profession, there has been a lot of change in how we're learning and how we're working. This time last year, we wouldn't have had any of our lectures recorded. At Victoria, we have a Socratic learning method, so it's all about conversation and being face-to-face and in the classroom. So having to jump online really changed the way that all of our teachers are using technology. And then over the summer when I was working, it was quite different to the summer before, where everybody was in the office every day and there wasn't many alternatives, to having a much more flexible working style, which I think has really benefited the work-life balance for a lot of people, and is a positive side effect of quite a negative time period in a lot of people's lives.
Absolutely. I think it's really showing a certain adaptability that we have as people, especially students. Like, you've got so much going on and you get thrown into the profession for these little short pockets of time and you get to see a bit of a glimpse of it. But what you saw was obviously a bit of a different glimpse than you usually do. So I imagine there's a lot of students out there that the ambiguity is not quite their best friend.
No, there is a general sense of anxiety, I think, among students going into this next round of recruitment, and looking forward to the next few years where we're going to see a bit of a downturn and a bit less, I would say, I don't want to say confidence, but a bit less risk taking. So everyone's looking for different ways that they can use their skills that they've learnt, and the best way to put themselves forward over the next few months, especially.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're having a conversation here the other day about different stresses at different points in people's lives, and for a lot of uni students, uni was the time to just sit back and relax until you hit the real world. But the real world came to you guys this year, hasn't it?
It definitely has. It's not quite the law student atypical personality is very type A and very like, oh, I'm planning from the start of my degree to the end of my degree. And I think it might be a bit of a shock to the system, but maybe a good shock in some respects that, oh, things won't go according to this plan that I made 5 years ago. And that's okay. Look at all these cool new opportunities that are out in front of me. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit of this is what life can throw at you, and you've all had to adapt, and completely change your lives around it, but you've all sort of come out on the other side of it. We've had some amazing experiences from our students as well. A lot of them have family and friends overseas, or they've come back from overseas themselves. I imagine it's the same for lots of you, right? Your plans to travel and work in organisations that offer you international options rather than now it's a little bit more domestic.
Oh, definitely it is. A lot of people were pulled out of exchanges at the start of last year, and now they're back in the country and finishing up a lot earlier, which can be quite exciting. And then, of course, now as we're looking forward to the vaccines, hopefully all those international opportunities will come back again. But definitely this last recruitment period on campus has been very domestic focused, and we haven't seen those Australian firms come over in the same way we used to.
Yeah, definitely. Flipping it here a little bit, I suppose you already talked about one of the great things that came out of COVID was the flexible working arrangements. Is there any sort of other opportunities that you're seeing for the profession or students?
In terms of students, there's been a big growth in our opportunities to develop our legal skills. Last summer, I participated in an online mooting competition, which was quite novel at the time. And now they're popping up all over the place, and you have the chances to meet lawyers overseas in an online setting and practice international arbitration. Or I did a client interviewing competition last week over Zoom, so that was really awesome, and a great chance for students to take advantage of the new digital opportunities and avoid a lot of the cost barriers that prevented students from taking on these international competitions.
Yeah, there's definitely an access to sort of education opportunities that's been redistributed, and it's not without its own expenses in terms of access to technologies. But for a lot of New Zealand, that that barrier at this level is more about the fact that you might be located in a more regional part of New Zealand, and definitely that whole coming out of the cities is happening, isn't it?
Yes, or you can take your study anywhere. We've seen students who just haven't come back to Wellington this semester, and they're finishing off their degrees in Auckland, or they're out on their parents' farm in Hamilton, and really just loving the chance to slow down a little bit, spend some more time with their families before often we do have to go to the cities to get a job. But hopefully it'll open up again more people's eyes to regional opportunities and regional positions in the law, which are really crying out for lawyers at the moment. So it's good to know that.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot coming through saying we need some regional young lawyers, especially because, as you said, there's a bit of a redistribution of the population at the moment. People are going back to the regions, and where they go, professions have to go as well. So hopefully it is a nice chance for, as you said, students to sort of slow down into that lifestyle and not have to be a big part of it all. It's definitely creating new pathways, I suppose, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Definitely it is.
So what about any other sort of challenges that you've thought about, or, people are talking about amongst students?
Well, in the same vein of how it's been great that we've moved online, we've definitely seen some of the inequities and the different hardships that people face really come to light in terms of access to technology, especially when the campuses were shut down. A lot of students do rely on the computer labs that the university provides, and when that's all closed, that really does shut them off from access to their education. And then also the expectation that everybody has a quiet place to study, or everyone has a quiet place to sit an exam at home, when that's not the reality for many students for many different reasons. So we're figuring out how our education can operate digitally, as well as trying to find an equitable way to assess students and continue to produce good lawyers.
Yeah, that's a really big one. Yeah, absolutely. We find that with our students, if we have the online and face-to-face options now, especially people that have got kids at home, and they're like, oh, it's okay, like, see the cat jumping around in the background or something. We've had to, get a little glimpse into each other's lives, I think, almost as well, So it is definitely different.
Yeah, definitely. And some people just don't want to let you have a glimpse into that part of their lives for many reasons. So learning how to make space for all of that has been really important, I think, as a law student society, and how we approach our advocacy and working with the faculty here have been absolutely fantastic so far.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It almost is that whole personal, professional sort of boundaries you've got between the two can become quite blurred in this sort of point in our lives easily. And then you throw in the whole, we are looking into each other's living rooms sometimes. It can be quite confronting. So.
It definitely can. It definitely can.
Along those lines, do you have any advice to students that are going into the profession or finishing off their degrees?
I'd really recommend that you do reach out and you seek all of the help that is available to you. The university provides hardship scholarships and hardship funds for technology. If you need a laptop, there's all sorts of people that can help you out. Just the other week, we had a student post on our Facebook page I know someone who needs a computer. Does anyone have a spare that they can give? And the response was overwhelming. So there's always help when you need it, and people are so willing to give in terms of their time, their notes, and any resources that they may have. And I think the same goes into going into the profession. I think my generation of lawyers, if I could even say that, have more of an expectation of what they can ask for, and what is professional. So going into the profession, don't be scared to reach out to your seniors and ask, oh, I need a little bit of leeway, I need a mental health day, and all of those sorts of things. That's really important to start those conversations early, and that in turn will help create change in the profession as we go forward.
Absolutely. It's collegiality is so important no matter what point in your life. And I think the isolation that some people did feel whilst in lockdown has definitely been heightened, but we have to remember that we can't just return to normal.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Yeah, there's a whole new future of work out there for us to embrace. So it's some really great advice. Thank you, Megan.
It's advice I wish I knew when I was a
Yeah.
few years younger.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's easier to give it than it is to take your own advice too.
Yes, it is.
Was there any other parting comments you wanted to make or things you wanted to discuss today?
I just want to say thank you to the College of Law for your support of the Victoria University of Wellington Law Student Society. With your help, we put on a whole heap of awesome events, from our equity and diversity panel, which we do with Ngā Ranga Hautere and the Pacifica Law Student Society, to Coffee with the College, which keeps us all caffeinated and studying late into the night. So we really do appreciate what you give to us, and also your willingness to have these conversations, because this is part of how we make change.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to be a part of it. And equity and caffeination are two important issues. So thank you so much, Megan. I'll let you get back to your very important studies and talk to you soon.
Thank you.